This sitting is resumed. We revert to Standing Finance Committee.
House is in Standing Finance Committee.
Order 13B, Mr. Chair. In the name of the Honourable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to grant the sum of $37,929,017 from the Consolidated Fund and to place it at the disposal of the government to supplement the estimates 2022 to 2023 as shown in the Supplementary Estimates Number 7, 2022-2023, which form the schedule to the resolution. Head 12, Parliament, in the sum of $1,300,000.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the sums of money being requested here, sir, is really to support the ongoing work that the Parliament is undertaking, and therefore, as the members of the public will be aware, sir, the Parliament, like everything else, sir, continues to modernize. And we anticipate, sir, that these funds will support not just the ongoing work, but as we have been able to do, and I can attest, sir, during our tenure that we've seen improvements here, and the sums of money is being voted here, sir, is to ensure that the Parliament, like the rest of government, that they will have the resources to be able to get the right structures in place in terms of being able to properly engage with the public, sir, and therefore, with those very few words, sir, I beg to move that Head 12 stand part.
The question is that Head 12 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 31, Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, in the sum of $10,463,777.
Honourable member for St. Michael North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to delay the House, but I am grateful to the Ministry of Finance, the ministers therein, for affording the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology the total of $10,463,777 to continue the work being done on the industry side of the portfolio, and in particularly through our state-owned enterprise, Export Barbados BIDC. Mr. Chairman, there are quite a few projects that this vote will be used to further advance and complete. And I will take this opportunity to just share some information on each of them very quickly as we begin to wind down today's debate. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, the funds are being utilized for our Digital Innovation Hub. And for those members who would have seen in the Newton Industrial Area, just next to the lands adjacent to really, Gildan. Persons would have noticed in recent months and certainly over the last few weeks that we have been clearing that entire property, that entire space, because, Mr. Speaker, we are about to break ground and develop a digital innovation hub that will be built on that site. And this would allow us to facilitate, first and foremost, Mr. Chairman, the digitization of our Atlantic records, our Atlantic slave records. I believe, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, that Barbados actually has, I think, if not, it's not the oldest, but I think it is actually the second oldest holdings of Atlantic slave records in the world. The only place that has a larger capacity for records, Atlantic slave records, would be, you guessed it, England. And this is not only a significant reputation and record to hold, but it is important for us, Mr. Speaker, to be able, as a part of maintaining our heritage, understanding from whence we came, even as we continue to chart our trajectory forward, it is important for us to ensure that those records do not in any way, shape, or form become null and void or lost in any way. And one way to secure our history is through the process of digitization. So we are establishing a facility that will have as its primary purpose, Mr. Chairman, sir, the digitization of our Atlantic slave records. This is being done under a project entitled Roads, the Roads Project. And this particular project, Mr. Speaker, will be the primary purpose for which this facility at Newton will be utilized for. The vision thereafter, Mr. Chairman, is that this facility will then be used for innovation of many different forms, not just digitization, but we are seeking to establish and build out our life sciences center, our life sciences hub at that Newton industrial site. And it will be the home then of pharmaceutical, industrial work. It will be the home of research and development. It will be home of analytical work, Mr. Chairman, and a lot of digitization and digitalization efforts will take place at the Digital Innovation Hub at the Newton Industrial Park and that site that is going to be built. I would, on this last note, on this particular point, for the expenditure that we're speaking of this evening, sir, is to say that the very structure of the Innovation Hub is going to be innovative. We're not building it, Mr. Chairman, out of the traditional brick and mortar, but we're using a new, never been used before in Barbados for this type of facility, tinsel structure. And this tinsel structure is, as some people may know it to be, a large metallic structure with almost a canvas that is spread over it. And it is, one, quicker to establish and to install, and it also has significant longevity as well. And the maintenance thereof, as we've done the research on it, is also favorable from a construction perspective as well. I move on very quickly, Mr. Chairman, to the other items that the funds are being used for. We have noticed over time with many industrial estates across the country, Mr. Chairman, that many of those persons who work within those industrial estates, and even those industrial estates that have residential communities nearby, we have noticed that sometimes there's a challenge relative to the care of our younger children, of those persons who are working within those facilities. And this progressive government, this progressive administration has seen it fit, Mr. Chairman, to plan, to not only plan, but to go forward in establishing very soon a daycare facility at our Pelican Industrial Estate in Bridgetown. Mr. Chairman, when those parents are working to advance the cause of our industrial development in this country, whether it is that they are a retailer selling craft that they would have created, whether it is someone who's working in some small manufacturing facility, whether it is somebody who is driving our digitization efforts, Mr. Chairman, sir, they need not have to care or worry about the care of their children, because we are now creating a safe space at one of our primary and leading industrial estates in the island. And this daycare center will not only be just for them, it will provide care for those persons who are working primarily at the estates, but it will be open to all, and those who are in the area and the environs as well will be able to benefit from this center, Mr. Chairman, sir. More details about this center will come as we carry out the work. We have already started the planning, we've already gotten the approvals, etc. from a town and country perspective, and I will share more details on this as time goes on. I want to move on very quickly, Mr. Chairman, to say that we're also carrying out preliminary work on our second Mechanics Bay. And even as I mentioned the second one, I want to say and announce to the House that the first Mechanics Bay, which is located in the good constituency of St. Michael North, in the Grisette's Industrial Estate, we are going to be building, and we have built out, our first Mechanics Bay. And Mr. Chairman, sir, some may be asking about this Mechanics Bay, what is it all about? We have had a perennial issue or challenge across this country, where persons who ply their trade in the automotive sector, the automotive services sector, oftentimes set up within residential neighborhoods, and it can sometimes create a bit of a challenge relative to other vehicles being able to get through. Sometimes there are many vehicles that are parked along the sides of the road, sometimes the odor, sometimes the noise. You can have some challenges when you have individuals who are trying to ply their trade. And this government is very much pro-industrialization, is very much pro-entrepreneurship. So we in no way, shape, or form would want to restrict or prohibit the people of Barbados from being able to ply their trade in any legitimate way they choose or see fit. But we are seeking, Mr. Chairman, sir, sorry, we are seeking to build out a dedicated space, not one, but multiple dedicated spaces, mechanics hubs across the length and breadth of this island that would allow those persons who are working within the auto mechanic services space to be able to then utilize a one-stop shop where they will have the latest technology, latest machinery, the latest equipment at their disposal in a shared use facility, Mr. Chairman, sir, where they will be able to book time, go in, utilize the facility, make the repairs to their clients' vehicles, and roll those vehicles back out through the doors of that facility onto their customers. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, we believe that this will reduce some of the challenges that we've observed and noticed relative to our auto mechanics that are working and plying their trade across the length and breadth of Barbados. So as I said, Mr. Chairman, I am happy to announce that after significant work has been done, we expect that the first Mechanics Bay in Grisette's Industrial Park will be officially open for business in the month of May 2023. Mr. Chairman, sir, just 2 months from now, we expect those doors to be flung open. And even before that, we expect to have our first slate of mechanics utilizing that space. So the funds in this that are being budgeted for, or they're being asked for under this head, Mr. Chairman, sir, would allow us to actually start the preliminary work, the planning, etc., and the approvals to allow us then to start that second Mechanics Bay, which is due to be located in 6 Roads, Mr. Speaker, in St. Philip. Moving on quickly, and lastly, sir, the last thing I will mention under this head, sir, is that we're also utilizing these funds to help us to move forward with our second phase of our International Food Science Center. And members would remember that the International Food Science Center was launched in late, I think, November of 2022. And the International Food Science Center is supposed to be a place, once again, a shared use facility that allows our people to be able, those who are in the agro-processing space, those who make the condiments, those who make the seasonings, etc., to be able to go into this shared use facility and make use of some of the latest and best technologies and equipment so that they can then increase their production capacity. Mr. Chairman, I've been in business for many years, and I know that there are 2 big things that affect a humbug entrepreneurs: lack of access to financing or credit, and of course, lack of equipment or tools to build out their capacity. Not lack of knowledge, not lack of innovation, not lack of creativity, not lack of hard work or determination, but sometimes just a little capital to get to the next level, and sometimes not having all the right equipment to be able to increase and improve on their capacity. So we have solved that problem in a significant way by creating our International Food Science Center. And I would have, on the floor of this very house, Mr. Chairman, gave an example of one person who was producing 300 units in a week of their particular product. And they went to the International Food Science Center and were able to produce 3,000 units within one day, Mr. Chairman, sir. A tremendous increase in their capacity. And the whole goal of this, as you would have heard from the Honourable Member for St. James South, the whole goal of this is so that we can then do what? Not only meet local demand or domestic demand, Mr. Chairman, sir, but so we can then move towards exports and drive our products from our shores, improve or increase our foreign exchange earnings, reduce our import costs in many cases, and create jobs for the people of Barbados. That is what this government is about. So the next phase of our International Food Science Center will now pivot and focus us now on our cold food processing. And we're talking about being able to move fish from off the shores of our island. And Mr. Chairman, I must say this even as I close. There is a market of about $4 billion in Africa relative to fish imports. They import on the African coast, on the African continent, $4 billion worth of fish. The Caribbean is responsible for 0.01% of imports of fish into Africa. Mr. Chairman, sir, if we can just build out a fish processing plant, a fish processing industry in Barbados, we have a ready market in Africa that we can easily jump into, and we can increase our exports. They can reduce their imports of other fish from other places, and everybody a win-win, Mr. Chairman, for all. So this is what we're seeking to do. So even as we embark on our development of our second phase of the International Food Science Center, particularly as it relates to our cold storage facility and capabilities, we're looking to move more of our fresh vegetables, frozen vegetables, our fresh fish off of this island. And of course, Mr. Chairman, there is one product that has been getting significant and increasing attention and desire from people outside of Barbados, and that is breadfruit. Breadfruit, Mr. Chairman, sir, has been growing aplenty in this country for many, many, many years. And now there is a ready market outside of Barbados, off our shores, that allows us and affords us the opportunity to export that product out of Barbados. So, Mr. Chairman, sir, the night is far spent, and it is time for me to wind up. But I would not have wanted to end the debate or end this discussion without sharing some of those very key initiatives that are taking place on the industry. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with those words, I beg to move that Head 31 stand bar.
Honourable Member for St. James Central.
Mr. Chairman, I just take the opportunity, sir, to commend the Honourable Member who just took his seat for being a pioneering and a most, I think, sir, innovative Minister of Industry in this country. I want to salute him, sir, for his excellent work. Now, Mr. Chairman, this is the Honourable Member who has introduced number portability into this country. And if they say they don't understand the growth strategy, yet again, we have to walk people through the growth strategy, Mr. Chairman. This particular exercise that we're going through with regard to the Ministry, sir, of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology is exceptionally important to the National Growth Strategy, starting first with the Digital Innovation Effort and the Digital Innovation Hub. The Honourable Member is right. We hold the second oldest Atlantic slave records. What the Honourable Member has not done, but must be done for the benefit of those outside of this chamber who seem to be limited in their capacity to draw the linkages, sir, and to understand the growth strategy, is to explain the link between the slave records and some of the fundamentals to Barbados' economy. First of all, tourism. We, sir, have contented ourselves from time immemorial, as far back as the memory of humankind doth run, to be a warm weather getaway for people in the North Atlantic. Barbados is bigger than that. Barbados is better than that. And the reality is that if we hold a mirror up and look at ourselves as the right excellent former leader of that which is now a sordid representation of that which he would have said, when you look at your mirror image, Mr. Chairman, you see a Barbados in which today still you have a slump in our tourism product in the middle of the year. We reached massive heights to the point where there's no room in any inn in the winter months, so-called. But when you come to certain parts of the year, May, slump, June, slump, July, well, the Kadooment period, that period gives you a little fillip. After September, sir, you go back into the slump again. October, a slump. There is nowhere, Mr. Chairman, there's nowhere that you have a major industry that works only 8 months of the year. There's nowhere that you have the major revenue earning sector that performs well only 8 months of the year. And so therefore, if we're taking ourselves seriously, we have to emancipate ourselves from being a warm weather getaway for people in the North Atlantic and do that which the Honourable Member through the Digital Innovation Hub is now doing. What makes us attractive to African tourists? African tourists are interested in us because of those slave historic records. When once digitized and preserved, then people will find it possible to come here in larger numbers with a view to understanding their heritage. The heritage tourism is a part of that which we must build out. They want to go on the genealogical trail, understand the journey of my ancestors. That is one of the most popular things in the African diaspora in the United States of America. It must also be located here as a possibility, Mr. Chairman. And once we do that, then we build a bridge across the Atlantic to Africa, and we open another dimension of our tourism product, and we stop people in Barbados who are involved in the tourism sector from being part of an industry that only works in part of the year, but it becomes a holistic tourism product. We link that then in turn, Mr. Chairman, to a film industry, which is being built out through the Ministry of Culture. And in that film industry, Mr. Chairman, we are able to focus on telling our story about our own history, our genealogy, our heritage, Mr. Chairman, and selling that story to the rest of the world. And as we all know, one of the major foreign exchange earners internationally, anywhere you go, is a film industry. That is what is going to come out of this particular effort. Mr. Chairman, I must also share, for those who don't understand the growth trajectory, and they say that they are unable to understand the details. Then, Mr. Chairman, what are the details? The International Food Sciences Center, sir, as you heard, is a shared use effort focusing on food exports, and now we are coming to frozen food. Mr. Chairman, there are some linkages that have been built out through the years and through the life of this administration that worry me, if they worry me because they have not, for some reason, been able to resonate in the minds of those people who are our critics. And I never have any problem with the critics. My problem is that if the criticism is vapid, then I find it a source of antagonism. I find it is unhelpful to a country when all you offer is an empty criticism. The Minister of Agriculture, sir, the Minister of Agriculture, and the work that he has done in ensuring that this Parliament within the last couple of months has passed a piece of legislation that looks after our sanitary and phytosanitary issues, enabling us to have now international standards with respect to that which we do. And now, you just heard the Minister of Industry speak about fish processing. What is the linkage, Mr. Chairman? That which the Democratic Labour Party was unable to do, that which, interestingly enough, the gentleman who was just welcomed back home was unable to appreciate when he was Minister of Industry, is that there has to be a linkage between the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Industry, so that on one hand you have the sanitary or phytosanitary legislation that allows us now at a legislative basis in law, to be able to leave these shores with product and have that product transported across the waters into other people's markets, sir. But it has, therefore, to be at a certain standard. And that is what the Ministry of Agriculture has now enabled us to do, to meet international standards so that we can export. And when we hear the example of fish, the Honourable Member with regard to Africa is 100% correct with regard to Africa. But may I say to you, Mr. Chairman, that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, there sits a signed economic partnership agreement with Europe. And as far back as 2008, the Europeans indicated to us that their market is open to us if only we would put in place the sanitary and phytosanitary standards. Between 2008 and 2018, when we came to government, sweet nothing happened. It is here now because of this administration. And therefore, sir, we are in a position not just to export fish to Africa, but we are in a position to export fish to Europe because the Europeans are there still, and the demand is there still. And the fish, as far as I am aware, is in the water still. And Mr. Chairman, you have to go further because they say they don't understand how the growth strategy works. The growth strategy is about building linkages and replacing the silos. What is the next linkage? That in the Ministry of Ministry of Fisheries, which is now under the watch of the Minister of the Environment, we have done the work, sir, of ensuring that the blue economy effort in Barbados has been such that we now have blue foods in abundance. We put the FADs in place, sir, so that the fishing stock is larger, more easily accessible by the fishing community, Mr. Chairman. The effort has been multidisciplinary work across multiple ministries so that we can come to an export platform and give people in Barbados an opportunity to have commercial returns. And who are the people we're talking about when we use just this fishing example? We're talking about the people who were spurned as being at the bottom of the economic ladder. We're talking about the fisher folk in Barbados who were treated as though they were the second-class citizens in the land of their birth. And now there's opportunity for them to have unprecedented levels of market access, unprecedented levels of industrial development, Mr. Chairman, unprecedented anywhere in the Eastern Caribbean, where we can now lift up our fisher folk and transplant that which they produce and that which they offer across the world. In the same vein, Mr. Chairman, I ain't done yet, all right? I want to recall the food terminal, again, out of the Ministry of Agriculture. Again, looking at bringing value added to basic food production in Barbados, basic food production in Guyana, basic food production out of northern Brazil, bringing it, harnessing all, bringing it here, and having Barbados as the centerpiece where now the value added is done. What is the value added? That you can blast freeze those things which need to be frozen, that you will properly wrap and package, that you will now use the marketing skills in the island to make sure that we reach into other markets, that we will use our geographical connection to make sure that we can get the 7 flights from Barbados every week into Canada, the 26 flights from Barbados every week into England, the how much ever it is that we got coming out of Barbados into the United States, so that we can furnish and supply markets of West Indian diaspora that are out there within our reach, but which we have never been able to reach, Mr. Chairman, because we did not have a government with the prescience and the commitment to doing the right thing for our people as we now have. And I intervene in this particular way, sir, in order to salute the work of the ministries that I have spoken to. And the only one that I've left out really is the honorable member for St. Michael South, who would have done the first set of work on the blue economy. He was the region's first blue economy minister, and he must be saluted for the work that he did in that regard. But this is what the growth strategy is, sir. And don't let anybody bamboozle you with foolishness. The reality is that they understand, but they don't want to say they understand. And what they must be reminded of, sir, until when it sticks in their craw, is that this government is the only government that has been able to knit it all together. And it now starts to unfold for all who have eyes to see, to be able to see and appreciate. I am obliged to you, sir.
Honourable member for St. Michael North.
Well, let me thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank the honourable member who just spoke for his support of the work being done under this ministry and the other ministries mentioned. And with those few words, I beg to move, therefore, Mr. Chairman, that Head 31 stand part.
The question is that Head 31 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, Head 82, Ministry of Environment and National Beautification, in the sum of $7,723,841.
Honourable member for Christchurch West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, sir. I will stick and go quickly to the green environment since there was a translucent elucidation of what happened in the hydrosphere for my colleague from St. James Central. And I want to thank him for that. But quickly, Mr. Chair, Chair, this money really is the, I realize it's on levity, but it's okay. Mr. Chair, sir, this money is to pay $847.341. It's supposed to be able to, for us to pay for utilities at the markets, of course. And Mr. Chair, sir, there is $876,460 for the further build out of the concept beer market, where we were looking to upgrade that market so that we could ensure that the sanitary standards that was so exposed by my colleague and friend, that those standards could be ascertained at this market in rural Barbados, understanding that there must be an equal connection between that which happened in rustic Barbados and the fishing industry. There must be an unequivocal gamos between the fisher folk and what exists on the lands in this country, especially in rural Barbados. And I want to say that this money will be money well spent in their constituency that is represented by my colleagues sitting side of me. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other set of money, $6 million, is supposed to ensure that those aesthetically pleasing garbage cans that you see, those new garbage cans that you see all over Barbados, that we are able to complete so that every single Barbadian, as promised, will have a new garbage can, not only to bring to the aesthetics of Barbados, but to ensure that there is the sense that exists with it, that the occupational hazards that currently ensue with the workers lifting those heavy garbage cans, that becomes a thing of the distant past, recognizing that this government has as its mantra, we care. So I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that when we took over the office in 2018, some 5 years ago almost, that there were 12 garbage cans in this island, 12, a dozen. Some people call it the dirty dozen, man. 12 garbage cans. I remember when the Stockholm Convention was speaking about the dirty dozen, the persistent organic pollutants. I am saying that we had 12 garbage cans, today garbage trucks. I can report today that with the efforts of this government, first, led, of course, by my colleague from St. Michael East, as the then minister, undertook to increase to 36 new garbage trucks in this country. 36. To the extent, Mr. Chair, sir, that on a daily basis, we can have about 30 to 35 garbage trucks on the road to service the community, to bring not only the aesthetics in terms of ensuring that Barbados remains clean, green, and beautiful, but to ensure, Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Chair, sir, that the health of the country is protected, to ensure that the information needed as it relates to the weight and the amount of garbage going per ton into the garbage, that information is gathered so that we will be able to understand and to be able to put plans in place as we recognize that the shelf life of a landfill does not exist in an infinite manner. Mr. Speaker, with our residential waste collection improvement project, what these garbage cans will allow is for us to have that information with our RFID reader. It will allow us to be able to optimize routes because we'll be able to know based on the collection what is the best routes to take at which particular point in time. It is allowing us to bring the science, which is important, into the management and operation of the Sanitation Service Authority. It gives the workers, and we have been doing a lot, Mr. Chairman, and I don't need to catch a lot of fright in here. I have been speaking about it for a number of years. We have been doing a lot as a government. Who cares about the workers? We started first by telling the workers, we will give you medical insurance. I want to report today that at the Sanitation Service Authority, there is a medical insurance scheme for every single worker at Sanitation Service Authority. Every single one of them.
Clap your hand, man. Clap your hand.
Every single employee of sanitation has medical insurance so that when there is an injury, they have a recourse. And I want to say too, I happened to visit the Sanitation Service Authority in 2020 when I became minister. And I said to the workers, the conditions as it relates to your recreational facilities, those conditions are not up to the standard which I would like to imagine as a minister responsible for clean and green. And in record time, I want to report to all those in listening distance of my voice that we have a new facility at the Sanitation Service Authority, a new recreational facility with television, with air conditioning, with all the amenities to satisfy the workers of this country who work hard to ensure that Barbados is clean, green, and beautiful. I want to report today that it's a new facility for those workers because we care about those, even those that persons may consider do blue-collar type jobs. I want to say to Barbadians that we have a responsibility as a government. We have said it already, and we have made it as part of our mandate to ensure that every single worker is a part of the net in terms of this whole transformation of the country. They're part of the net in terms of bringing Barbadians to be star citizens. And that is what we are doing in the Sanitation Service Authority and in this ministry. So, Mr. Chair, sir, with those few words, I want to move that Head 82 stand power.
Honourable member for St. James Central.
Mr. Chairman, I rise yet again on the question of growth because it must not elude us that there are those out there who rest their flimsy arguments against this government on a false foundation of an inability to understand the growth strategy. Mr. Chairman, the honourable member who just took his seat spoke to the question of the upgrade of Concept Bay. To that particular fish market must be added Paynes Bay in my constituency. To that particular one those must also be added, sir, Pile Bay, which I think is really a state-of-the-art complex. I know Bridgetown has to be added, sir. I believe Oistins as well has had to be added, sir. Six Men's has to be added, sir. These are all fish markets across this island. Half Moon Fort, sir. Half Moon Fort. These are all evidence of how the Barbados Labour Party government, sir, under the astute leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister, has intervened not only to assist working class people in their environment of work, because labour matters to us. It is an indispensable proposition of this government's articles of faith. But beyond that, sir, in order to build capacity for growth, the type of work done, to which I just alluded, by the Ministry of Agriculture in ensuring that we have sanitary and phytosanitary legislation, that is simply put, sir, means that the quality of that which you produce is guaranteed. Across the fish markets in Barbados now, sir, so that where there was a contentedness to have wooden boards on which you cut the fish and the blood seeps into the wood and you have the bacteria build up and the possibility of contamination, and the Europeans say, no, that can't work, you can't sell that to us if that is the condition it produced under. We replace it with stainless steel tables and wash down facilities, Mr. Chairman. What was there that allowed us to do that in the middle of an IMF program, sir? In the middle of an economic recovery program, sir, that did not exist under the last government, other than political will and interest in the development and well-being of the people of Barbados. Huh? In the same way, sir, that we went into the fish markets and saw and recognized that anybody with eyes could see that if you have fish coming onto the shore, there should be a jetty to tie up next to, and that the jetty should be in a condition, sir, where it does not do irreparable damage to the people's boats, because those individuals who own the boats, believe it or not, sir, are part of a private sector. They may be black, they may come from an address that named village or somebody land, but Mr. Speaker, sir, they are part of a private sector, that they don't have an address marked terrace or heights, and that their complexion is not lily white, ought not to mean that the government should not take their interest to heart. We went there when others did not care. Mr. Chairman, all of this is done in order to build capacity. They say they do not understand the growth trajectory, then let us explain it to them. It is about ensuring, sir, that this sector that we are speaking about now, this capacity to harness the resources of the ocean, the ability of this government to see Barbados not only as a small island developing state, but more importantly, as a large ocean state. And that we use the large ocean around us to get the blue foods. And we ensure that the people who work in the ocean are now empowered and facilitated and given an opportunity to be enriched. And that their labor matters, sir, and that they can too be seen as earners of foreign exchange and agents for growth in an important sector in this country. And therefore, we brought dignity to that labor. We brought dignity to that sector. We brought visibility to that which they do, Mr. Chairman, sir, and we are now giving them the opportunity to cross the threshold in accompaniment with the necessary legislation that is now in place, sir, and the work that is being done in the Ministry of Industry with the International Food Sciences Center to make sure, sir, that the value added is able to be done and that all forms of marine life can be part of a blue food economy that serves Barbados as a brand new sector, something which others thought was impossible and which we say is possible only if you had the political will, which we've clearly demonstrated. On those bases, sir, I too want to associate myself with this head. I'm obliged.
Honourable Member for St. John.
Thank you, Chair. I too want to associate myself with this chair. My head too, yes. Concept Bay, Mr. Chairman, was in a state of disrepair way before 2018. And I campaigned on a song in 2018 indicating change will come to the constituency of St. John. And there's a mantra still in St. John that goes like, St. John is rising. St. John is rising. Last campaign, Mr. Chair, It was actions speak louder than words. And it is evident of the changes that are being seen in the constituency of St. John as a result of this government. The honourable member for St. James Central would have mentioned that fisher folks were treated like second-class citizens in this country. The ones at Concept Bay were treated like fourth-class citizens. Those fishermen and fisher folks at Concept Bay were functioning out of 2 rusted containers, Mr. Speaker. And I am sure that prior to 2018, these containers were in a similar vein. And the Minister of the Blue Economy, the honourable member for St. Michael South, we did a tour to Concept Bay and realized the state of the facility at that particular location. Now, Mr. Speaker, those folks are seeing the light in terms of the development that will come to that particular location, and I believe that we can generate additional commerce at the location, the value added as a result of having a new facility at Concept Bay will speak volume in terms of those persons in College Savannah and the surrounding communities of Concept Bay. So I want, on the behalf of the good people of St. John, to thank the minister who is bringing this head that will ensure that we see some change happening at Concept Bay for the lives of those persons who ply their trade at that particular location. Mr. Speaker, I am aware of the time, so I will not be long, but I'm sure that those fishermen at Concept Bay would want me to say thank you to the Barbados Labour Party government for bringing change to that location. I am obliged.
Honourable member for Christchurch West Central.
I just want to thank those who spoke on the head, and to say that you can't have an idyllic song by an iconic group called Beautiful Barbados without Barbados being beautiful. With those few words, I want to move that the head stand par. Head 82.
The question is that head 82 stand par. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 86, Ministry of Health and Wellness, in the sum of $10,766,331.
Honourable member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Sums of money being given to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in this instance, sir, relate to the upgrade with respect to CT scan, sir, for the QEH, which, as you know, sir, is vital for the delivery of services at that institution. Patients currently, sir, have to, at the moment, go off-site to be able to receive those services, and therefore it is important that we are able to remedy that situation such that we are able to improve the quality of delivery of service, sir, in relation to that. As it relates to the $3 million though, sir, because that was related to the capital, this specific element, sir, is to provide for a screening program for colon cancer, sir, prostate cancer, breast cancer, sir, and of course ovarian cancer, sir, and diabetes, generally speaking, sir, across the country. Members of the public clearly would have listened to the estimates debate when the Ministry of Health was in the well. And over the years, certainly when we first engaged in this exercise, you would recall in this chamber, sir, that the members of the QEH and the medical team spoke clearly about the need to be able to fight the NCDs. And had it not been for COVID, sir, we would have started this process already. But we believe that it is important now that these monies set aside specifically, sir, to ensure that we have a proper screening program across the country, particularly in those areas that I identified earlier, sir, given that they are the main and leading causes of death, sir, and ill health across the country, and therefore we are voting those monies to be able to ensure that the QEH can execute that program as part of the preventative medicine and delivery of care, so as to, on the back end, sir, once we know where the ill health is taking place and we can detect early, then it means that citizens will have the opportunity, sir, to make the right decisions early enough, and that we can deliver the type of care that will make a meaningful difference to the quality of life that people will lead. And once that can happen, sir, it means then that on the back end with respect to the expenditures that we are now putting out with respect to surgeries to amputate people's legs and a whole range of things, sir, associated with NCDs, that as part of the preventive medical care, that once that can be rolled out through the proper screening, giving people the right information early enough to make those, I hope, decisions to improve their lives, that we see this as important as being able to ensure that Barbadians can lead a healthier lifestyle, live longer, and to be able to continue to be productive citizens in the society. The remaining funds, sir, really just relate to the fact that we extended as you are aware, sir, when we voted the COVID program for the Ministry of Health for the Community Health Liaison Officers at the beginning of the year. We had initially provisioned monies until the end of July, and therefore these monies here, sir, relate to the fact that we extended the program, and therefore bring into account, sir, the salaries for those persons and others within the Ministry of Health under the COVID program. And so, sir, with those very few words, I beg to move that Head 86 stand part.
The question is that Head 86 stand part. The Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I will be very brief on this, of course. There are two matters. Naturally, matters pertaining to health have a very close correlation to my ministry, because a number of my seniors find themselves in need of this level of support. And a number of them are dealing now with cancers, unfortunately, that probably would have been better addressed had we had this level of technology. This is going to be, sir, there are often times that we come to the house and we speak of things as if they are just things. And we don't necessarily make the relationship between these things and people's capacity to extend their life. And it is in that regard, sir, that I wish to support what is before this honorable chamber, because I know that there are a number of people who are going to be able to live because of this level of intervention, sir. But even as we do these things, sir, there are things that, and speaking on this just reminded me, sir, of a message that I got today, sir, from the doctor of one of my constituents, sir. I have a young man in my constituency, 21, 22 years old, a young man, who was diagnosed, he was a footballer of great distinction. And while in the US, he just fell ill. They sent him back the other day after spending some time in a US hospital to be told over there that he has a bone cancer. And this young man at 20 little now faces the possibility, sir, of that sound being his reality. If life was a thing that money could buy, the rich would live and the poor would die. And this is just the reality for many people in small island states. That the medication that you can access in the US and sometimes in the UK and Canada, it is difficult to be able to access it here. And this medication is a medication I was asking the Honourable Member for Christchurch, West Central, to help me pronounce it, but it's CYTOXAM, cytosam, and that it will cost the family about $200,000. $200,000 to be able to get this medication if this young man, it may permit to say Deshaun, is to live. And that we're going to be holding some fundraisers and so on to be able to raise the finances to see, because if he doesn't get it, the reality is that he is going to die. And sir, even as I listen to the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and what it is that we're doing for cancers, I reminded, sir, that if the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister were here, she too would want to add her voice to say that there are things, a lot of interventions that we need to do that we haven't yet been able to do. So I am thankful to see that the government is moving in this angle, moving in this direction, moving in this trajectory, because it really will change lives. In fact, it really will either, one, extend life, or give people the opportunity even to continue to have life. And these are very important things. But as I think of my young, formerly healthy until the other day constituent who now has to raise $200,000 to source a medication that he was getting while in the US, but that he cannot get here, knowing that unless I can help raise these $200,000, Dishon will die. And that these medications, sir, should be made available, sir. I don't know, obviously we can't make everything available in the country, but as we start to recognize, as cancers become more and more prevalent, I think our response, even as we continue to do good, our response will obviously have to widen over the next few years. So I am really happy to hear what is before the House, because I know that it will make a difference to a lot of my constituents, whether in my ministry or in St. Michael's South. But I am still, sir, affected by the fact that I know that there is still a mighty long way for us to be able to go. And of course, with those few words, I also wish to support the head.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me thank the Honourable Member for his contribution. And it is for precisely that reason, sir, that the screening program will be undertaken. And as we have been doing with respect to going into the communities, and the point I was making, sir, is consistent with what we're doing with the elderly care program, but certainly as we fight with respect to NCDs, that once we're able to get the right information to people early enough, those types of decisions can be made with respect to the interventions that are required in order to assure or ensure that persons have the ability to be able to continue to live long and healthy lives simply because they know, and then obviously with the right infrastructure and arrangements in place, that people can then make the best possible decisions regarding their medical health. And so with those few words, I'd like to move to Head 86, stand part.
The question is that Head 86 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 87, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, in the sum of $9,013,709 as amended.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Most of the monies related here, sir, and you can see in the various programs relate to really selling utilities for the primary schools as well as a few secondary schools. Of specific note, sir, I want to draw your attention to the payments for the transport of pupils, which will clearly go to the Transport Board to settle those outstanding payments for the transportation of school children to and from school. And therefore, that would be the significant sum here. But also, sir, whilst we're doing the current stuff, we're also planning, certainly, sir, with respect to further opportunities for students to broaden the scope of the education. And you will notice, sir, that there is a sum of 1.5 million, sir, being placed at the Barbados Community College to be able to enter into a partnership, sir, with Delaware State University to be able to pursue dual certification, sir, as far as the associate degree, as well as any other advanced level programs, but specifically, sir, in math, science, and applied agriculture. And therefore, I know the Honourable Member for St. James Central has been very focused on the growth strategy. And in the same vein, as we have already committed that we will, on the one hand, as it relates to the building up of the pharmaceutical space, being able to have opportunities for our young scientists to be able to work and do the type of research and development within the pharmaceutical space. Similarly, the work that's being done within the Ministry of Agriculture, that clearly, as we seek to do the tissue culture lab and expand within that space, that you need to build up the capacity, the skill sets of the junior officers and the persons coming in to that space in order to ensure that certainly the plant materials and the like, that we have capacity within that, because if we're going to export, to start, 50 containers per week, and any other thing that we may want to export and grow into this country, then obviously you need to have the necessary skills within these spaces. So I know that there's some up there who will wish for a long expose of every single, certainly I to be dotted and T to be crossed in relation to the growth strategy. I think if members of the public are listening and saying what it is that the government happens to be doing to ensure that we have not just the capacity, but also putting the resources to build any capital that is required, both human as well as physical infrastructure, that you will start to see that there's absolutely a coherent strategy in relation to how we will achieve growth, and therefore investing in people, investing in the country's capacity to boost exports. We heard the Honourable Member for St. Michael North spoke to the work being done with the International Food Center, and therefore getting the capacity built for what will become new jobs into that space. Then you need to be able to invest in that type of approach, and this program is intended to help fill that gap, sir, and therefore allow Barbados to have the capacity locally to be able to ensure that we can meet the standards, maintain them, even set new standards as appropriate. But you can only do that, sir, if you're making the right investment in the right areas at the right time, whilst you're building out the remainder of the architecture to be able to deliver growth. So whilst there are others out there wanting to have everything put on a platter for them, what this government is intended to do is to ensure that we give opportunities for our young people to be able to live, and not just live, but to thrive really in this country. And these are the kinds of opportunities that we know that once taken, I believe the number initially is to be 60 persons to be trained under this specific program, and therefore building capacity within that space in order to ensure that we have the right level of expertise to be able to deliver not just clean plant and material, but all of the necessary scientific research that will be applied within the agricultural space. And so, sir, with those very few words, I beg to move then, sir, that head 87 stand part.
Second.
The question is that head 87 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, Head 91, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, in the sum of $18,450.
Honourable member for Christchurch, East Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is a small sum, which is really just to settle some utility bills, sir, for the ministry. And so I beg to move to Head 91 stand part.
The question is that Head 91 stand part. All honourable members in favor, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. We think the ayes have it.
Head 92, Ministry of Energy and Business Development, in the sum of $1,660,000.
Honourable member for Christchurch East Central.
Yes, very quickly, sir. You would recall, sir, that very recently there was some technical assistance given by the CDB in relation to the launch of I think it's the Junior Stock Exchange, sir. And which is one of those areas that we want to ensure that the members of the small business community and any micro enterprises, so that they're able to leverage all the opportunities that are available for accessing funding. And this grant was provided by the CDB to be able to help build up that infrastructure there. The other set of funds, sir, relate to the NPC, and I know that most of the country, if when you drive up by Lars Hill, sir, I'm not sure if you take that direction to and from Parliament, sir, but if you drive up by Lars Hill, there's been quite a bit of disruption within that space by the NPC in terms of being able to deal with some matters there. There is a specific area on Odessa McLean Drive, sir, that they need to realign the pipe, the gas main, not pipe, the gas main, along there. And these set of monies are initially allocated to facilitate the movement of that pipe. I know the residents of the area certainly have been disrupted significantly with the works. The traveling public to and from obviously impacted by that, but our concern obviously is to make sure that we can get the works completed as quickly as possible, and therefore these monies are to help accelerate that work and to bring some measure of relief to the residents within that area. And so, sir, with those very few words, I'd like to move then that Head 92 stand part.
The question is that Head 92 stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. You can see ayes have it.
Head 93, Ministry of Housing, Lands and Maintenance, in the sum of $26,982,909 as amended.
Honorable member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, so the sum of the monies here, sir, relate to just a couple of quick things. For the National Housing Corporation capital transfer, sir, and I apologize, sir, for the text, but the monies here not just relate to the electrical upgrade and sewage rehabilitation, but also in relation to dealing with, as you heard, the articulated with respect to the rent, not just the rent to own, but certainly the works that the NHC would undertake to support not just the completion of the repair works that are to be done in relation to the Hurricane Nelson, but there are a few projects that the Minister spoke would have raised in his submission this morning in relation to those issues. Those will help to cover some of those costs, certainly in relation to the NHC. As it relates to rent, as you are aware, sir, this 11 million here is to cover the rents for the end, for March of 2023, as well as to cover rents for April of 2023 before we cross the financial year, so that we're always on top of our arrangements in relation to that. The reality is, sir, is that the minister in his contribution this morning obviously articulated that the government continues to look for opportunities to provide housing solutions for varying ranges of incomes in the country, and this government will continue, sir, to unlock those opportunities for average Barbadians, and therefore, as quickly as the ministry can get, identify the lands available to be able to get them conveyed and that process settled, then I know that the financing is certainly available with respect to the private sector through either the credit unions or the banks to be able to get those houses up and running, to be able to help build a more resilient Barbados as we've promised to do in terms of that tagline of building back better, not just in relation to Hurricane Nelson repairs, but certainly as we are building new housing, that the housing is resilient in order to ensure then that from a resilience perspective, but also equally, sir, to encourage persons to recognize that investing in property is an opportunity as well, sir, to be able to build and create wealth across generations. And therefore, this is really an opportunity of true economic enfranchisement by being able to ensure that ordinary people will, just like some of the more well-to-do people in this country, sir, that was there can pass down something to their children and grandchildren, that ordinary families across the length and breadth of Barbados, through what we are doing with respect to the Ministry of Housing, that we will be able to have them, once they obviously complete certainly the payment of their mortgages, sir, that they too will have assets which can pass from one generation to the next. And we are happy, sir, that we can support the effort in this way, whilst at the same time, and I know that work is being done across the estates to be able to help build out and improve some of the surroundings, and therefore, in the not too distant future, more will be indicated in relation to the conveyance of those units. So with those very few words, sir, I'd beg to move that Head 93 stand apart.
Second.
The question is that Head 93 stand apart. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that you now report progress to His Honor the Speaker and ask leave to sit again. Oh, sorry. You finish all? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you finished all. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that you now report to His Honor the Speaker the passage of 2 money resolutions.
The question is that I do now report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of 2 money resolutions in committee. All honorable members in favor? Honorable members against? Methinks the ayes have it.
The chairman has reported the passing of 2 money resolutions. 6 and 7. Honorable St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that resolutions number 6 and 7 be...
No, 6. 6. Wait, we read it first time.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that resolutions be read a first time.
The question is that the resolution be read a first time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the resolutions be read a second time.
The question is that the resolution be read a second time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I beg to move that the resolutions be agreed to.
The question is that the resolution be agreed to. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed.
Suspend. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the Honorable House be suspended until 9:15.
Hold on.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the House be suspended until 9:15.
The question is that this honorable chamber will be suspended until 9:15 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. And those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 9:15 p.m.